Welcome to the Immigrant Computer Scientists podcast, where we talk to computer scientists who immigrated from their home countries for study or for work or for other reasons. In these oral history interviews, you will find established and renowned computer scientists from across academia and industry narrating their experiences of immigrating from where they grew up to a completely different land, often the US. My name is Indy Gupta, and I'm your host. This is a remix episode. As usual, you can find all episodes and detailed episode guides on our website, csimmigrant.org. Again, that's csimmigrant.org. And you can find us and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and basically wherever you get your podcasts. This episode is structured into acts or chapters. You'll find chapter markers on your audio player, and you can use these to jump between the acts or chapters. Earlier in Season 2, I spoke with 6 IITans, all of whom work today in Silicon Valley in California, USA. All 6 graduated from the Indian Institutes of Technology, or IIT Madras, also known as IIT Chennai, 1998 batch of computer science bachelors. Now, entering the IITs is really hard. One has to write a national entrance exam called the IIT JEE, or IIT Joint Entrance Exam for the Indian Institutes of Technology. This exam covers a variety of subjects including physics, chemistry, and math. The total score you get on this exam is used to rank you among candidates nationwide. No other scores in your life or school career matter. Your high school letters, recommendation, your high school scores, none of these matter at all, just the exam. And so your rank from the national exam determines which of your preferences you get into, which of the IITs you get into. Yes, some of them are considered ranked higher than others. It also determines your discipline, the computer science being one of the most sought after disciplines. Everything depends on your rank. So only higher ranks get into computer science in the best of the IITs. The year that I wrote the IIT JEE in 1994, about 200,000 students wrote the exam across the entire nation of India. Out of them, only about the top 2,000 or 3,000 students got into IITs at all in any discipline. And among these couple of thousands, only the top 48 ranks in the entire nation of India, the second most populous nation in the world, got into the most sought-after location, IIT Madras or IIT Chennai's Computer Science Batch. All my 6 guests today, as well as I, are among these IIT Madras or IIT Chennai's Computer Science Batch in 1994. I asked the group a question about comparing oneself to others. Here's how they responded. Again, remember, they all did their bachelor's in India in the 1990s and then immigrated to the US in the late 1990s and early 2000s. The tendency to compare myself to someone else, that's a human tendency. I want to ask what your approach has been to just that tendency. I've heard some of you say, well, when I was preparing for IIT, I really didn't have anyone to compare against, and that was a good thing. And then I've heard other people say elsewhere that it was good to have a calibration, something to calibrate against. But what's your philosophy? And this, you could talk about your IIT preparation time or your current time. I just want to hear your philosophy about comparing yourself to others. First up is Rajasekhar Krishnamurthy, Principal Research Staff Member and Senior Manager at IBM Watson Discovery. He's also a PhD from the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
So, starting with JEE, preparation for that, right? I didn't feel any pressure. I think mostly because I was in a group of people where we weren't actively comparing each other, but just similar goals, similar mindset, right?
I think everyone around him felt the pressure to come.
So it's something where being in the right group, right? It's no different than when you're working, multiple folks here said, oh, the team and the people matter, right? So the peer group plays a significant role in shaping any of us. Do we get societal pressure? And how do we take that? I think that's the variable, right? Which, especially during education, becomes even more challenging, right? Whether it be in our days or even today here, right? And this is, along with opportunity comes the double-edged sword of restrictions, right? If everyone in a particular area has opportunities, then suddenly they all can't go to the same destination, because whether we like it or not, no university in this world is going to say, I'm going to take everyone who look alike, right? Because that's bad for the university, the group who come in, because you need diversity, right? So therefore, being judicious in terms of what you want to do and how you look at your peers, right, I think was the best thing that happened, right? Coincidentally, but it's helped me throughout my life.
Next, here's Praveen Patnala, co-founder and chief architect of stealth mode startup Valtix and masters from the University of North Carolina.
So I think if you are ambitious, right, then you want, and it needs to come from your heart, by the way. Like see, there are different aspects to this, right? Like when I talk to my son, right, he's in 6th grade, right? Sometimes I end up comparing with my other friends' kids, or let's say, I know Balaji's kids, like for example, he has invested a lot of time in his son and he's doing very well, right? I tend to do that when I compare, but I also become careful about not to overdo it, not put undue pressure on him, right? But I think ultimately it should come from the person's, it should come from the heart itself, the person. Am I ambitious enough, right? And if you are ambitious, if you want to achieve something, right, you actually want to be the best. How do you become the best? You have to have a way to compare yourself. So this is where it's a thin line between, by comparing someone with something, you may put undue pressure, and that can result in like a behavioral change in the person. They may get demotivated, etc. But if you decide that, like, I actually want to be something, right, you have to be able to achieve that goal, right? And the only way to do that is you have to go to the top, right? And whatever that is, whether it is education, whether it is sports or something, right? There is a rank and you have to climb that ladder. So my only point here is, I think, at the, especially for, let's say children, right? When they want to go to that age where they need to appear at competitive exams and all, if they become mature enough, they know what are the pros and cons and, why they're doing it. Let it come from themselves. Like, I think hopefully they will be mature enough to get that. We, as in this particular, point of view, as parents, right, we should not put undue pressure, but guide the children into identifying that that idea, right? That if you want to do well, then I have to be able to be better than others. That's the reality, and whatever field you choose to do, that's okay. In my case, it was a different thing. It was a way back in time, and I chose to become the top, right? I wanted to be at the top. So the fact that nobody was around me didn't really matter to me. I just wanted to achieve that goal, right? It doesn't matter. I didn't have to compare anybody with myself around me, right? I knew that I was competing with the rest of India, right? So I had to just get to the top, and I worked on it. But it may not happen for everyone. So I think ultimately it is up to the person to identify what they want to do. And this is a tricky thing, because especially in Bay Area, I used to hear a lot of high school kids used to commit suicides in Caltron. This will be, I don't know if people know that or not. And I was like, that's very, very shocking. That should not happen. And that happens because of, I think, parental pressure. That should never happen.
I mean, one theme I'm hearing here is comparing oneself to others is a good motivating, driving factor. But I guess I'm also hearing that it's important not to worry about the results of the comparison, in a sense, right? Not to care about that. Third of our guests is Ramesh Chandra, co-founder of Mocha5 and software engineer at Databricks currently. He also has a PhD from MIT.
I have a couple of things I've learned, not that I implement them, but I've learned over these. And I'll take a comparison with, or take an analogy with how I think companies should do competition, right? So one first point is there is no, in most areas, except for sports, where there's no one winner. Right, there's a space for like enough number of people with different dimensions, and like they can shine in different dimensions, right? So even if you have even if you are like let's say you're in a company, and you want to like make a company successful, you don't need you're not looking for people with one skill set, right? And so you can be like great in one skill set, or you can be great in another skill set, right? And that's fine. Or you can be great in a multitude of skills, and that's fine. But the thing is whether you're able to like improve yourself on an ongoing basis in whatever way you want to improve, right? And that's something which is important. So let's say I want to I find that my values in making companies successful or whatever, I'll find like some space in some area in which is valuable for companies, and I continuously improve it. So that's one point, right? Like, is that there is no single dimension, there's no one winner, and so you can have multiple winners. And same way, as companies, generally shouldn't, the best companies I've seen don't think of themselves, they want to kind of get to the top, but they also know that there is space for multiple people in the market, right? It's not just one winner. And then that gives them the ability to look at adjacencies, because otherwise they're going to be narrow focused, right? They'll have a tunnel vision. So that's one aspect. And the second aspect is when people are looking at comparison, what I've found fruitful, and this is experience. I wish I had this ability, but what I've seen from other people who actually go on this journey of self-improvement is they're looking at what they can learn from other people. Mm-hmm. They compare because I want to become like this person. What can I learn? What is that person doing that I'm not doing that I can learn from them? And this I've seen also in how the best people who run companies, they're not looking at the competitors so the sales folks in the companies typically tend to look at competitors as if they are they're enemies to be demolished. But the better leadership I've seen look at competitors as a way of learning from them and shortcutting their process for getting to the areas they want to improve in. So that, I think those are two points I've learned, which apply not just to personal development but also in building organizations. There is no one winner, so there is space for multiple people to kind of grow and to be their best, multiple organizations to be their best. And second, look, the good ways of using comparison is use comparison as a way of learning from the other organization or person to see where you can improve. And learn how they do it so that you can actually improve on that.
That's very beautifully put. Next up is Balaji Srinivasan, Director of Engineering at SAP Ariba, and also a master's from the University of Illinois.
So one other thing here is it also derives from where we are as a generation, right? So in our generation, we also had this additional pressure that we needed to find a stable line of work. We needed to support our families, things like that, which is largely gone from the current generation. Right? So they are not going into a college or line of work thinking, okay, I need to support my parents in 10 years. The other thing here is the opportunity also, right? So in any situation where you want to be in the top, it's getting increasingly difficult to do it without basically sacrificing everything else. So in our time, as Praveen said, he needed to study 12 hours a day to get in here, right? So if you take an example of you want to be a top in tennis or chess, for example, you cannot do that as a side hustle, doing all your school things. You can get to some level, but you cannot get to the top. If you look at any career of an Olympic swimmer here, to get to that level, they basically, not just the kids, the whole family, the whole ecosystem, they have to build around that. right?
Yeah.
And it is questionable as to whether you need to do that or not, right? So, for example, my son was playing competitive chess, and we used to see kids from here who do chess on the side. They also learn, go to school, do all those things. Then they go to the youth championships, and then they get walloped by the Indian kids who just do that 24/7.
Yeah.
All right. So, I would say a decision needs to be made as to whether doing that is very critical for you, right? It is not just a matter of reaching the top for the sake of doing it, because there are so many casualties on the way also, right? So, for example, if you want to be a top CEO, right, your family suffers, your time with kids suffers, your contribution to the community suffers. There's a lot of other things there. Similarly, if you want to groom your kid to be a top tennis player, right, you pretty much have to move to Florida, do one of these things, sacrifice everything and be there for them, for them to achieve that level.
Yeah.
So it is not for everyone.
Fifth of our 6 guests is Shankar Ponekanti, co-founder at startup Trust Lab. He also has a PhD from Stanford University.
One thing I was going to say is that you mentioned the point that it's natural tendency. I definitely want to second that, because as the father of a 1-year-old and a 6-year-old, right? It's amazing. Like, this is so inbuilt to us, right? Like anytime I give anything to my 6-year-old, like even if my 1-year-old is another room, not in visual sight, he figures out that something is being given to the elder brother. I need to go and do it, right? Same the other way around. And it's a built-in thing. It's a very natural thing. But it's not the only thing. There's lots of other natural tendencies we have as human beings that probably help shape us the way. In many cases, like, they helped us, right? I mean, like, for example, kids learn a lot of things by comparing themselves to others, kind of trying to do the same thing. So, nothing bad about that. I think, but with all of these tendencies, I think to Balaji's point, right? I mean, you have to, at the end of the day, like, whatever is your goal, I mean, like, if your goal is to be happy for some definition of happy, right? Then you need to see whether those things are helping you or getting in the way.
And finally, here's Sriram Selappa, member of technical staff at Arista Networks. He also has a master's from the University of North Carolina.
So just like the tendency to compare is primitive, the tendency to belong is also very primitive. We all, like, if after coming here, after coming to US, the first time I met my college friends again, the joy that comes, right? That now I belong in a community or a group. That is also very very real. So we have this tension between being able to belong, but yet being wanting to differentiate and staying 1 inch above the crowd. So that's the tension. So how do we reconcile this, right? So what I've done is we have this tendency to belong. So I think doing the right thing to be in a place that is most conducive for us, meaning being in a company where there is good culture, less of all politics and all of that stuff, doing innovative work where there are people who are equally smart and challenging, and yet so this competition is also there, but and that's instinctive, right? So this is not a conscious effort, right? It just happens automatically. So there what I found is attaching to a higher goal, like in industry parlance, finding out what is the real objective, right? So if we all identify ourselves with a larger goal, okay, we are here to build a better company, build a better product. Let's do what is complementary, right? So there are different things that needs to be done. So even though when I started the career, title and all of that had meaning, over time they actually have waned, right? So now what matters is the actual net effect that I have in the company or to the team or whoever I interact with. right? It doesn't matter at the end of the day what the title is, or how much successful the product is, right? Whether it's really solving problems for people, that's what matters. So getting a more broader perspective has helped me rise above these challenges and sort of apply these sort of negative aspects in a positive way.
As usual, you can find all episodes and detailed episode guides on our website, csimmigrant.org. Again, that's csimmigrant.org. And you can find us and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and basically wherever you get your podcasts. All the music used in episodes of the Immigrant Computer Scientists podcast is royalty-free. All voice recordings were performed with and are reproduced with full consent of narrators and participants. You can find music credits on our website. Join the online discussion about this podcast on all major social media, including Twitter and Facebook, with the handle CSImmigrant and hashtag CSImmigrant. And of course, the episode guide is available at our website, csimmigrant.org. This is the Immigrant Computer Scientists podcast.